everyone and welcome back to my channel. This is Glossy Philosophy. My name is Jansen Bidman. Make sure that you are subscribed to this channel. Give this video a thumbs up because today we are doing a great book talk by Todd called Sensational, The History of the Girl Stunt Reporter. So stay tuned. Now, when I talk about this book to everybody, and I have been speaking about it to pretty much everybody I know because it is packed with thoughtful and interesting and horrifying information. The first question that a lot of people ask me is, what is a girl stunt reporter? So a girl stunt reporter is someone who would pretend to either have an ailment, maybe pass out in the street, act in a way that is not like themselves, or infiltrate maybe a factory just so that they could report on what is actually happening. They might interview other workers. They might just give you a first-hand experience. They might even just report on the time that it takes an ambulance to pick them up and get them to the hospital. Hence, it be calling girl stunt reporters because they're pulling a stunt and they're all female. Now, of course, the first thing that probably is kind of making you a little uneasy is the fact that girl is being used. And that's because in the beginning, a lot of these women were younger. They were in their early 20s. They might even been a little bit younger than that. But they were women who were seeking a different life for themselves. They were women who were coming from the country or just wanted a different way of life. They wanted to support themselves and they were interested in making a change. I think one of the coolest things about this book is that it really showcases how impactful these girl stunt reporters were, especially in the beginning, and how tragic it is that as the girls stunting continued, it turned into something really negative and almost mythological once we get to people like Lois Lane, and where women, female reporters, are now having to live up to being super glamorous but also infiltrating like a mob den or something like that, putting themselves in actual physical, mental danger. And it becomes almost impossible to live up to these standards of these fictional characters. And yet we of course have brilliant female journalists and brilliant women who report on some similar situations that are still happening nowadays. So let's just kind of walk through a few people. The most famous person in this book is going to be Nellie Bly, for sure. We have so many accounts of Nellie Bly doing incredible things, from pretending that she is insane or mentally unwell and infiltrating an insane asylum to report on how the inmates are being treated, how the mentally ill are being treated, what can be done, who is kind, who is not, to traveling around the world in order to beat the fictional character Phineas Fogg. Now, if you are a West Wing watcher, as I am, you will remember that episode in which Nellie Bly is commented on and kind of poked fun at during the, I can't remember what the episode is called, but there's like a Women's Day situation where Mrs. Bartlett and President Bartlett are kind of going at each other. She's trying to commemorate a statue or something to Nellie Bly, and President Bartlett doesn't even know who that is, kind of pokes fun at that situation. But the thing that is remarkable about Nellie Bly being able to travel all the way around the world faster than Phineas Fogg is maybe not the fact that she was actually able to travel around the world faster than a fictional character, but more so the fact that she did it by herself. She did it without hardly any help, and only when she got to America did people, relatives, actually come and ride trains with her. She took it very seriously, and she only had a few items of clothing to get herself all the way around the world. Now, she was not the only woman who was trying to do this. There was another newspaper who learned about Nellie Bly's trip around the world and tried to put their own girl stunt reporter on, but she did not have as much luck, or she wasn't as committed, or, you know, lots of things went wrong with that one. And we know about Nellie Bly. Now, Nellie Bly did so many more things, and just as in Hidden Figures, I think the tragedy of this book is not only that female journalists have gone through ups and downs of being taken seriously and being seen as legitimate actual journalists, but also the fact that they're just being kind of swept aside. So the book actually starts out with an anonymous girl stunt reporter who went from doctor's office to doctor's office in the city of Chicago, trying to figure out where the best and kindest doctors are to deal with women's health. And when she reported, she wanted to be anonymous because she feared for not only her life, but she also feared for just the perception of herself. She didn't want to get bogged down with the heaviness of the subject matter that she was writing. Unfortunately, because a lot of the girl stunt reporters did write anonymously, especially when dealing with facts about women's health, about dealing with fertility, anything that had to do with the female body, not only was there always a big backlash from society instead of just reading and getting the information, but because they wrote anonymously, it's been incredibly easy for them to be swept aside and not taken as seriously because there's no name to tack it onto, even if that was the only job that they pulled. Now again, there are so many women who are courageous enough to actually write their own name or at least have a pen name while they're doing all these stunts. Another of my favorite stories is a woman who would just pass out on the street to see how long it would take the police or someone to take her from the passing out point to the hospital, because at that time there were no ambulances. And because of the report that she wrote up on not only the discomfort of riding in a wagon from one place to another and the insane amount of time that it took to get to the hospital, ambulances, the community called for ambulances to be created and be specific from getting sick people who have been in horrible accidents from one place to another. And at this time, there was a huge amount of people who were just dying from being taken from the accident to the hospital, and often you wouldn't even make it all the way to the hospital because that's how long and how awful the ride was, and they would just go straight to the morgue because people were dying. Now, at the height of the stunt girl reporting, unfortunately, we head into World War I, and everybody becomes war crazy. We want to hear about the war, we want to read about the war, we want to know all the facts about the war. Being a girl stunt reporter becomes very difficult because women were involved inside of the war where the action was happening. So female journalists kind of got brushed to the side, and it became almost like a joke, like, oh, you're a girl stunt reporter, oh, you're a female journalist, like you don't report on actual real things, even though they were changing society for the better. Because of Nellie Bly's report on the asylum, things changed drastically for the mentally ill, and it started a conversation not only in the community but across the country of how do we treat mentally ill patients. We can't just brush them aside. But during the war, it becomes this age-old problem of what is the feminine voice? How do women report on not only women's issues and still be taken seriously, but also broader topics? What's going on in the world? Can they be taken seriously? I started reading Sensational last year, and I knew right away that it needed to be in 2025's book talks. It is so good, it is so empowering and so frustrating. Kim Todd does a phenomenal job of covering as many of the girl stunt reporters as possible. Again, regardless of if they only did one story under their name or if they did anonymous stories, she covers so many topics. Some are difficult to read about, but they still need to be spoken of. And she has this ongoing conversation with the reader of, have things changed not only for women but also for female journalists? What does it mean to be a female journalist today? Are they being taken seriously, or is there still the stigma of, oh, you're just a girl stunt reporter, oh, you're not quite as good as a man? It's a really interesting look back at history, and I think it's also really empowering finding out that women, once again, were more involved in history than we had any idea. So that is the book talk on Sensational, the history of the girl stunt reporter by Kim Todd. I highly recommend it. I normally do fashion videos every Wednesday, beauty videos every Friday. Make sure you are tuning in between for before and afters and outfit inspirations, but also for book talk. And if you are reading along with me, make sure you check the list below because I have links to previous book talks as well as what books we will be talking about in the future. And I will see you very soon in the next one. Bye.